Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to another Roll20 review, my written and video review series where I take a look at the marketplace section of online role-playing website Roll20.net. With this video, I'll be reviewing the Call of Cthulhu Keeper Rulebook, designed by Chaosium and adapted by Roll20. A review copy has been provided for the purposes of this review. If you enjoy my videos, consider supporting me via patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shoutouts to my platinum patrons Andrew, Richard, Joe, Will, Tiny Dancer, Nick, Andy, Grayson, and Chris. And gold patrons RPG Papercrafts, Charming Grenade, Pretty Boy and Yuma, Marco Stead, Vicente, Gilberto, Sean A.K., Cert2B, Adam, Dead Lizard, Lounge, Sam, Rosh, and Lumpy Spuds. Thank you all very much for your support. My history with Call of Cthulhu is 0. I know of Cthulhu. By the way, if I sound a bit nasally or a bit low energy, it's because I am currently my body's in a holding pattern about whether or not it wants to get sick. I feel as though the slimy tentacles of Cthulhu himself are slowly embracing me, so I apologize for that, but the show must go on. I did learn a little bit more about Cthulhu just about a month ago, if you will allow me a shameless plug, where I actually interviewed Sandy Peterson for website dicebreaker.com. Sandy is, of course, the father of the Call of Cthulhu RPG. He used to work for Chaosium, was also responsible for working for a number of different video game developers, including id and Microprose and Ensemble, in making Doom, Quake, Age of Empires, and now owns his own tabletop company called Peterson Games, where he continues to make Cthulhu-based games. So big Cthulhu fan. I interviewed him all about that for dicebreaker.com. Shameless plug. You can find a link to that in the description below. That's about the extent of my knowledge about Cthulhu. I've not played the RPG. I know it's about eldritch horror. I know it's set in the 20s, because that was, and I know it's based on, obviously, a series of books by H.P. Lovecraft, who is kind of infamously problematic. So what you get with the bundle for the Call of Cthulhu RPG is 2 modules, the rulebook and the art token pack. So the rulebook, which is the 7th edition, by the way, which Call of Cthulhu originally was created, I believe, in the early 80s. So already 7 editions. And it appears in the Compendium like so. So the Compendium is your little eye right here. Click on that, and you've got 4 different sections. You've got items, monsters, rules, and spells. The entire rulebook, obviously, is in the rules section. Now, unfortunately, this is alphabetized instead of organized by, say, chapter or heading. I think this might be a limitation of the way the Compendium is designed. So instead, if you want to try to find certain chapters, you'll find there's chapter 5, 4, 14, 9. It's a little bit of a bummer. The best thing to do is to find chapter 1. Go ahead and click on that. And then this is the exact hardcover book that you would get, which is over 400 pages. So this is the all-in-one rule book for running Call of Cthulhu, just in a digital form. If you want to read the actual rule book, like cover to cover, quote unquote, you can just click next page, and that'll automatically take you to basically all the important subheadings and different areas that you would need. So all of these things are in the Compendium, but if you want to read them in order, you can just keep going down and clicking next page, and that's as if you were actually reading the book all the way through. You can learn how the character creation works, how dice should work, generally like the themes of the game, when the keeper should step in, when, yes, the dungeon master / game master is called the keeper in this case. So I think it's obviously pretty well written by this time. I didn't certainly read the whole thing. 7 editions mean they've got this pretty much down. This was, I believe, the original game that had the sanity mechanic as kind of a unique secondary life source that you had to keep track of, because you were dealing with, that's a really cool picture, you were dealing with a lot of obviously just horrific things happening, and your sanity, you had to make sure that was full, or at least not zilched down to 0, in addition to your hit points and your actual physical constitution. So really cool system. And I expect a lot of modern gamers nowadays, I don't think Call of Cthulhu is super popular, especially given how popular D&D is right now. but I would imagine a lot of us have been introduced to Cthulhu stuff via tabletop games. Obviously, the Cthulhu mythos is in the public domain, so anybody could make a Cthulhu game. But we don't see a whole lot of those. Instead, what we see is Fantasy Flight making a whole bunch, the Arkham horror games and all that, which, by the way, was originally Sandra Peterson had a piece in the original Arkham horror game. And they've taken it, made Elder Sign and all these other, and obviously Peterson Games now has like Cthulhu Wars. So most likely you've probably gotten to the Cthulhu mythos via really cool tabletop games that all are about investigations and cool 1920s gangsters and Prohibition era, and it's just a really neat confluence of like, I guess, urban fantasy or supernatural horror and all this kind of stuff. So, and I think the modules do a pretty good job of showcasing that. The two are included are Amidst the Ancient Trees and Crimson Letters. So those are very neat modules. I'm going to showcase them in a second after we do the compendium. So you've got the full rule book here, over 400 pages, not terribly well organized, but it is there. You can obviously search it like a Google bar. We get monsters. There are over 80 monsters is what I called. Now, I counted. The problem here, as interesting as these monsters are, first of all, the artwork is kind of the sepia-toned, no color art on all of these as far as I'm aware. And they don't really have character sheets. So we have notes, this is kind of a mess right here, frankly, to read. And I guess the idea is you're supposed to actually roll for all these monsters instead of just having, I guess it gives you the average here, but these aren't sheets in the way that Roll20 wants them to be sheets. So normally in a game, like say in a game of D&D, you could drag this onto the board and it would have a token ready to go and all that. This doesn't have that at all. And I don't know if that's a problem with Call of Cthulhu or if this is the Roll20 adaptation, but none of these are actual like character sheets that are built into any token, so that's a bit of a bummer. The stats are here. I'm just not sure how we're supposed to plug these in or use them with tokens. Now, granted, Call of Cthulhu is not, a lot of people when if D&D is your only baseline into tabletop RPGs, other RPG games are probably going to feel like a lot less combat focused because D&D at the end of the day is a very combat focused game. That is one of the main pillars of D&D. A lot of the rules and abilities and all those things only come into play during combat. And Call of Cthulhu is much more about investigation and discovery and role playing and figuring things out, puzzles. It's not necessarily about doing these big action sequences because it takes place in the real world. You're not playing superheroes or fantasy heroes or anything like that. So, and obviously you can still do action sequences. Obviously they've been doing action movies that take place in the real world forever. Not so much like Fast and Furious, which is now basically a modern day D&D campaign with the hijinks they can do. But, you can do car chases and shootouts and that kind of thing. But it is a lot less combat focused, so the nice thing is you might not need all these, tokens and battle maps here, but on the other hand, this is Roll20. This is a virtual tabletop. It's designed to have tokens and battle maps and things that everybody can visualize over. So for that reason, I think Call of Cthulhu might suffer a little bit in transition to a virtual tabletop like Roll20. But the monsters are here. They just don't have the tokens ready to go. We also get a bunch of items. I counted hundreds and hundreds of items. I didn't actually count them because there are hundreds. And everything, obviously, from the mundane to the supernatural. That's a lot of items right there. So these are all included. It's a modern medical case. A lot of it's just how much does it cost, and that's it. Some of them might have actual stats involved and have a bit more description. Light sword. There you go. And then finally we get spells, which spells all have their own rules. Most of the spells are pretty much used by bad guys, although some heroes can use spells at the cost of sanity, typically. I want to point out the description for Call Azahoth, which is one of the Dark Elder ones. The first line of Call Azahoth is, calling this god is extremely dangerous and has the potential to fry the entire planet. That's Call of Cthulhu, baby. I just really liked reading that. So don't summon Azahoth. It's gonna fuck you up. All right, so that's it. That's the compendium. So that is the rule book that you get. It's all in there. Let's go over the modules. First, we have Amidst the Ancient Trees. What I like about the modules is they both showcase different elements of Call of Cthulhu in terms of the themes and the setting. So Crimson Letters is more of an urban investigation and a murder mystery and very heavy on the role playing. Amidst the Trees is kind of more traditional horror when you have to go into the woods and investigate a kidnapping that starts. And I love that the main theme about the Cthulhu stuff, obviously it's all supernatural, but it all starts out like normal, and then as you dig deeper it starts getting more messed up and supernatural. That's very much a theme going on for pretty much all of these adventures. And in Amidst the Trees, you start off, it's like a gang member, like this rival company gang, kidnaps this daughter of this other corporation, and they go into the woods. But the problem is they ran into the woods where there's this evil growing that's infecting people and turning people into undead and all this business and trying to dig out its prison. And the players have to go on this hunt into the woods as more and more supernatural. You know, they find dead bodies and hear distant screams and all this before finally confronting this horrific ritual taking place. I think it is probably the more traditional adventure Amidst the Ancient Trees, the going into the woods one. Unfortunately, it lacks battle maps and it lacks NPC character art, which is a huge bummer because I think I like it a little more than the other one, although the other one is interesting also. The other one's just harder for me to wrap my head around in terms of how to run it. It's a little more open-ended, and it's a murder mystery where it's totally up to the DM, like who done it, which to me means those are always going to be unsatisfying if it wasn't actually written in a way that makes it cool for the person who done it did it. Amidst the Trees, you can see here, they give you a pretty solid bit of information. It's all organized by day because it all takes place basically in the same region. So we get in the Ancient Trees module, and this is all included in the same $54.95 Call of Cthulhu Keeper Rulebook bundle on Roll20. You get, as I mentioned, the rulebook itself, which is that compendium, 2 modules, Amidst the Ancient Trees and Crimson Letters, and then the character token art pack. So Amidst the Ancient Trees includes the alphabetized token page, which is here, the journal organized into 3 days, 4 non-gridded region maps, and 12 player art handouts. Now, the problem you can instantly see here, none of these things have token art, minus the actual ancient evil and a random bear. But all of these NPCs don't have any artwork whatsoever. And the odd thing is, the other adventure does have artwork for 90% of their NPCs. So I don't know why that one got all the love and this one got shafted when it came to these tokens, because it goes a long way. Again, if you're playing on a virtual tabletop, to be able to see something of these characters. The other issue with this one is there's no place to actually put these tokens, because the maps that we get, which these 2 maps are actually included on both of the modules. This one's actually not even really needed here. You'll use this map on the other module because it actually takes place around Arkham University. Really fun map, though. I'm digging the art style a lot on this one. Arkham, Massachusetts. And then there's a bigger one for Lovecraft Country, which is kind of nice. Typical creepy New England. It's all very Stephen King, or I guess H.P. Lovecraft would be the more appropriate. The actual map that you'll use is this one. This is the dig site. Unfortunately, this is not exactly a battle map that we can play on. Obviously, it helps to include this, but I think this is probably only DM only. I think these are on the GM layer, though. Yes, so the players don't actually see all these different annotations going on here. This is less used trail. This is only for the GM's eye, or the keeper's eyes, sorry, which that part is nice. So all these things are actually on the GM layer. The players will actually see just kind of a blank map, and you can fill in the place, the areas as you wish. But it's not a battle map. We can't actually use it. And unfortunately, there are locations where you definitely want to do like a battle. Like there's a classic cabin in the woods scene playing out where a dude's gone insane and he's just in this cabin. He's firing out at it. Like that would have been a great little battle map to have available. And obviously the final area, the actual dig site, can be a huge battle with a bunch of undead servants and people that get the creature actually has these spine things that it stabs you with, and then injects fluid into you, which reminds me of that end of was a Starship Troopers, that bug that can do that to your head. Except I guess it sucked out your brains in this one. This one it like pumps fluid into you, and then it turns you into like a ghoulish servant. So really, really neat idea. Very, very much horrific. But no battle maps whatsoever for any of this. Instead, we just get a map of like southern Vermont. Like, all right, well, that's a bummer. That's very disappointing, considering this one. The weird thing is, this one doesn't have the token art or the battle maps, versus the other one, which I'll show you in a second, which does have character art and battle maps, despite really not even needing them. So it's like they got flip-flopped. So the one with battle maps is more about just investigating. It doesn't really need a bunch of battle maps. This is the one that really could have used at least those 2 maps, and we didn't get them. So it's a bit of a bummer that they got backwards, and would use more of the token art, I think, because we'd use the battle maps more often. Despite that, I kind of liked this one a little bit better. I can go ahead and show you one of the most impressive aspects of this bundle, however, is the single pre-generated character. I do wish there were more, but I like this one a lot. And I like it because, first of all, the Call of Cthulhu character sheets are sexy as hell. This is fantastic. Roll20 all did a great job at putting this together. It looks good. It is fully functional. You can click on any of these abilities. Now, this, I believe, does not come with the bundle. I think this is available to everyone. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the character sheets, you can just select that. If you want to create your own game, you go to character sheets and you can select it from a drop-down list. I believe you can just select this. So you don't have to have this bundle to have this sheet, but I just want to highlight it because it is so damn good looking. You can literally click on all these things. If you want to roll, for example, a psychology, it goes right there. You can select the difficulty, which the Keeper will tell you, and then you click like the roll button, and then it puts it in the chat window like this, which is a really sexy looking chat window output display. Wow, I barely got a success. I rolled 65, perfectly under my 65. How about that? String of successes. Ah, there we go. So it's a really sexy character sheet. I love the hell out of this. And I also love that the bio and info walks you through the steps it took to build this character, which I believe is just ripped right out of the actual character creator rulebook. But I like that Roll20 went the extra mile and actually put this together and then like copy and pasted this information in the bio and info section. So now, if you get your players together and you're all new to Call of Cthulhu, as I imagine a lot of folks probably would be, you can point to this and watch how a player went through the steps, step by step, to roll dice, decide how to come up with all the numbers, and plug them in. And I think that's all. And you can just click this edit mode slide to literally just start editing all the numbers, and then do that to lock it. It's such a cool sheet. It's a neat idea. I love that they went above and beyond with the actual character creation. It would have been nice if we had more, but instead of having pre-generated characters ready to go, think of this one as the prototype character that everybody can use to then make their own, obviously, is the idea there. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think that's a really, really cool part of what this bundle has as an example character. The player art that we do get is not the best looking art, frankly. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. We get more art, I believe, in the other adventure also, which I am going to switch to right here. So this is Crimson Letters right here, which you can see has a different journal. This one does not actually have the day 1 through 3. It just has a bunch of locations and then a dramatis personae, which includes, as we can see, actual artwork for all of the important NPCs, which is good because you'll be primarily interacting with them. And look at that. Most of them have token art, which is very, very cool. Now, these do not have... There's no character sheets built in here. The only character sheet is that pre-generated one. So I guess that's just the thing of Call of Cthulhu, is maybe there aren't NPC character sheets. I'm not exactly sure how that comes together. I mean, even the ghoul doesn't... I'm not quite sure on that. I was a bit confused and lost about how. All I know is if you try to grab one of them from, let's say I want to use a monster from here, let's say Dagon, you drag it the first time, it will add it to the journal. And then if you put it onto here, you can see there's no art. it just drags this generic thing on there, and there's nothing tied to it. So, well, I guess this does actually have the character sheet. Let's see. Shift click. Okay, there we go. So I don't know if this is. I don't know if that's supposed to be all 50. This might just be a generic character sheet that it throws together, though, based on having a 50 in each stat. That can't be what his actual stats are, right? Let's go to Bion Info. Dagon and Hydra, ruler of the deep ones. Yeah, it's supposed to have a strength of 260, a con of 250, but clearly none of that is in this character sheet. I think this is just like a placeholder sheet that it throws together. So I don't know. It's very odd how that works. Clearly there is no NPC character sheet. Unless I'm very confused on how to put it together, it doesn't look like we have that capability. And again, that might just be a problem with Call of Cthulhu in general. It doesn't have NPC character sheets unless we're just supposed to all put them together. I was a bit confused on that. So Crimson Letters, I do like that we all have NPCs. They've all given very extensive notes on how to run them. There's notes on if you want to make them the. So the idea is it's a murder mystery, and you're sent as the paranormal investigators, kind of to figure out what the hell's going on. The poor dude was actually murdered by a supernatural demon thing that is unleashed by these Salem witch trial letters. Literally, it's trapped in the letters themselves, and it's now hunting everybody around who's had contact with these letters. Somebody has stolen the letters, so the big hook is trying to figure out who was the thief, and then what the deal is with this demon and all that stuff. So it's got a cool story involved. The Keeper does have the ability to decide like who was the actual done it person. Although to me, I would have preferred if it just had a more tighter story. It's very, very role playing heavy, but despite that, you can see there's the same two maps. So we get 2 non-gridded region maps and then 2 gridded, what I guess you could say battle maps. They do have dynamic lighting. You can see here with the doors in place, you can open and close doors. You do have to have a Roll20 subscription, I believe, to have dynamic lighting enabled. But all you do, this is the dude that was murdered. It's his cottage. So you can show up and investigate, and there's things to investigate, but there's no actual battles or anything of that nature, even though we have this pretty cool map put together. And the other thing is an area that your party might not even get to, which could have battles. It's got a neat basement. This dude who's like a half ghoul zombie creature who's really he's one of the buyers of the witch papers. He's kind of an X factor in this whole adventure. You don't even really have to use him if you don't want to, but we get a damn cool little map about it. I believe all the annotations are on the GM layer. Yep. So the players won't actually see those. But it's a nice map, and I wish we had more of these kind of maps in this adventure because I think it looks good, and it's got dynamic lighting, and we've got token art. So it's just bizarre that the one that didn't need the maps or the token art quite as much is the one that we actually got those for. But I like that both of them are very different and distinct. Both modules, one of them is the urban investigative murder mystery module, and the other one is the more traditional horror. Go out in the woods. There's a cabin in the woods. There's some messed up stuff happening. There's rituals and all that. So I think you get both aspects from the modules which are included here. I think they're both pretty well done. If you are going to play Call of Cthulhu, they're not. Neither are very long. In fact, it even says you could play them both in one session. I don't. Well, maybe, especially the Crimson Letters one, you probably could, because combat doesn't take nearly as long as it does in D&D, from what I can understand. So they're meant to be a lot. They're not full-fledged adventures. They are modules in terms of here is a example, like kind of introductory module for this adventure, but they're both different. They're not connected in any way, so you could just choose one. Maybe if you want to connect them both, you could come up with some method. The other thing I can show is the character art token pack, which this is where we get a lot of the tokens. And I'm so confused as to why we didn't get these for the Amidst the Trees module, because these would serve pretty well purpose. It's just a bunch of kind of 1920s character art done in that same pencil. A few of them do have color, though. Art style, which I think looks great. We get, looks like 27 of these tokens, which is pretty solid. So these can all be obviously player characters, or you could use them as NPCs. but that is included in the bundle. You just go to your marketplace art gallery section under marketplace purchases, and it should be one of the areas that you can. And you can drag and drop, and I believe it does not start a character sheet. No, because you'd have to create your own character sheet separately and then tie them together. So that's how that would work. All right, let's go over my pros and cons for the Call of Cthulhu Keeper Rulebook. Pro, the 2 modules showcase different playstyles and themes within the Cthulhu mythos. As I mentioned, I like that both modules, they are both Cthulhu-ass modules, but they both also have very different themes and could satisfy different kinds of players and what you're looking for. Or you could use both of them, obviously. Pros, the gorgeous and robust Call of Cthulhu 7th edition player character sheets. I cannot gush enough about how good those actual sheets look and how they operate. And to go along with that, pre-generated character with extensive notes. Good old Harvey Walters. What an awesome, awesome thing to have. This character is fully built, ready to go, and has a walkthrough about how to even build this character, which is extremely helpful. Cons, Amidst the Trees features almost no token or character art. Big bummer. That just seems like a terrible oversight, considering we got great token art for the other module. Amidst the Trees also has no battle maps, which is another bummer, because we got battle maps on the other module, and we didn't really even need them that much. And then this one, which could have used battle maps more, we did not get the maps for. We just got a bunch of region maps. Finally, the NPCs lack character sheets. I'm putting that as a con. I'm willing to be corrected if this is something I'm missing about how to put the sheets together, but all I know is for right now, none of these, for example, have character sheets built into them. So the only thing you can do is drag them from the compendium, but then as far, let's test this one more time. As far as I know, it just gives you a generic sheet built up. Let's see, where is the... Oh, this was, deep one. So we go to character sheet. Yeah, it's just got all the base. It's not put together. It's just an empty sheet. These are all just the default numbers included in there. So it's unfortunate that part of the reason that these bundle and modules are so helpful is because everything is ready to go. So for example, if you buy a D&D module, you can grab something off of the compendium or that's included in the actual module itself, more than likely, if you're going to use it, and drag it onto the map, and it's already got the sheet in place, things you can click on to put the output there, average hit points are already there, everything is ready to go, and this one just does not have that, which is a big bummer. Final verdict, the included modules offer a solid sample of what Call of Cthulhu offers, though the system's emphasis on role-playing and investigation makes it a poor transition to the virtual tabletop. Thank you to everyone for watching this video review. You can see my written review at roguewatson.com. You can support my work at patreon.com/roguewatson. And you can follow our own tabletop role-playing adventures here on my YouTube channel. Thank you.